I'm Bob Bowman, the head coach of the North Baltimore Aquatic Club. Today we're going to be looking at freestyle swimming with two of our club's brightest stars, Michael Phelps and Katie Hoff. Both of these swimmers possess the balance, the power, and the rhythm that's necessary for top-level freestyle swimming. And we're going to be looking at those attributes today as we go through some videos. Freestyle, as you know, is the bread and butter of any swimming program. It's the stroke that you're going to do the most training in. It's the stroke that the young swimmers learn first, and it's the one that you're going to spend the majority of your time and the largest part of the racing program doing. So it's very important that each swimmer have the key components of that stroke down and understand the fundamentals of freestyle swimming. While there are different styles of freestyle swimming, there's a more power-oriented style which emphasizes very strong kicking and powerful arm strokes and body movement. There's also a distance type of swimming where maybe there's a two-beat kick, less emphasis on the legs, and more of an emphasis on tempo of the arms. All freestyle swimmers need to have the basic concept of balance, body line, and rhythm. And we're going to look at those today. Body line is critical in freestyle swimming. It's the most important thing to me when I'm assessing a swimmer's stroke, and it's the first place that I will look to make changes when we're trying to improve someone's stroke. If you notice the best swimmers in the world, they swim in a horizontal position. And they do this so that they can minimize frontal resistance on the hips and body, and so that the body can act together as a unit as it moves through the water. The best swimmers in the world have a head position which is low with a very long neck. They don't look forward down the pool, they're looking at the bottom of the pool. This allows their hips to ride up near the surface and allows them to be in the most efficient position possible when they're traveling forward. If you watch Michael swimming freestyle, you'll notice that the water almost comes over his head as he's moving through the water, and that's a good key for you young swimmers out there. When you're swimming freestyle, you want the water to feel like it's coming over the top of your head. It won't be. It'll be hitting you just about in the center of your head, and that's exactly where we want it. A good rule of thumb that I give my swimmers when they're swimming freestyle is that you want to press your forehead down in the water until you feel your hips pop up. That's how you're going to know you're in the correct position. Also, you can think of it like a water polo ball. If you take a water polo ball in the water, put your hand on it, and press it down, you get pressure up against it to come up. And that's exactly how your body's going to operate. As you press your head down, your hips are going to pop up like that water polo ball. When you watch Katie swim freestyle from above, you can see that her stroke is essentially symmetrical on both sides, and that's something that's very, very important. That balance comes from two things. It comes from her front to back short axis balancing with her head and her hips, and it also comes from being able to be in a stroking position so that she's symmetrical this way. It's very, very important to freestyle swimming, and that rhythm is what really carries you through most of your races. So when you're swimming freestyle, we're going to be very concerned about how your head position is in relation to your body and how your hips are in relation to your upper body. In proper freestyle swimming, the head moves with the body to take the breath. It never moves independently. You don't want any lifting of the chin to take a breath. You don't want any looking forward or to the side of the pool to take a breath. You want to rotate your head in line with your body and take the breath in the natural rotation of the body. A good key for you young swimmers is to try to take your breath with one goggle in the water. I know you're going to say, well, that will only let half my mouth out of the water, but that's not true. Because if your head is in the right position, there's a bow wave that's going to be formed on your head, and you'll be actually taking your breath with the full mouth inside that bow wave. Watch Michael take a breath. You're going to see one goggle out of the water. You're going to see about half his mouth, but he's actually breathing inside the bow wave. One of the things I notice about Katie sometimes is she will over-rotate and you'll see both goggles on the breath. So one of the things we're working with her on is to be able to just have one goggle showing and to minimize the head rotation. That way, your head and body move together. If you can see your whole face on a breath or you're looking up to the ceiling when you're taking your breath, I call it checking the weather, you're going to be over-rotating from your head and you're not going to be moving in unison with your body. So that's something you can work on. It's very easy, but very, very critical to your freestyle stroke. I'm often asked what kind of breathing patterns swimmers should use in freestyle. And my answer is they need to have a variety of options to use for different conditions. I think younger swimmers need to learn how to breathe on both sides, bilateral breathing. I think as you get older, you're going to be wanting to have more air, and you're also going to want to have more rotation in your stroke. So it's advantageous then to breathe on one side more than once. So if you'll watch Michael swimming, he may breathe to the left side for 25 meters in practice, and then he'll flip, and when he comes back, he'll breathe on his right side for 25 meters, so that he's getting symmetry in the breathing, but he's also breathing every stroke so he gets more air, and he's also rotating more because when you take a breath, you're rotating more than on the strokes where you don't breathe. Essentially, we want swimmers in freestyle to be on their side as much as possible, because you're much more streamlined in that position than when you're lying flat. Critical that swimmers use their entire body to move through the water and that your entire body works as a unit. Don't think of your freestyle as just pulling with your arms, kicking with your feet. You have to have it all together. And your core, your body core or torso is what ties everything together. And it's the center of everything you're doing in this stroke. So when I look at someone and I want to say, okay, what's this swimmer doing in freestyle and how can I improve it? The first thing I look is at their body position and see what's going on there, because that's the key. If you watch Michael and Katie, you will see that they rotate their body, their hip and shoulders at the same time. They're in the same plane as they rotate. And this is very important because when they're doing that, they're using all the muscles in the core during that stroke. What we want to do in swimming is use the most muscles we can to provide propulsion during the propulsive phase of the stroke. Watch Michael swimming freestyle here. You'll see that as a hand enters the water and anchors, he's in a side position. He may have just taken a breath, but he's largely on his side. And then what happens is the hand will anchor the water, and he will use his whole torso to move to the other side. He's not just staying flat and swimming with his arms. He's making it a whole body motion, and that's very, very important in freestyle swimming. One of the things we find a lot in freestyle is that swimmers tend to be asymmetrical, and that usually has to do with balance issues. Sometimes we'll see hips that move side to side. we might see hands that stick out sideways instead of moving forward and backwards. And those are almost always related to your body position, and how you're taking the breath in freestyle. So one of the things that's going to be really important for you in your freestyle swimming is to manage your head and body position and to maintain balance as you go down the pool. I can always tell the swimmers who are most balanced because their arms seem to be moving effortlessly. They don't struggle, they don't reach out to the side, they don't have a hitch in their stroke. They have excellent balance, and they're able to control their stroke through their core body muscles. Michael and Katie are both very, very good at this. If you watch Katie swimming, you can see how her body's perfectly balanced as she goes down the pool. She doesn't have any side-to-side motion, there's no up and down, there's just a continuous progression as she goes forward. Kicking is very, very important. It's the basis of every stroke. It provides stability. It provides power and propulsion. And we believe that it's just one of the core things that you have to have in your training program. It should not just be a social activity that you do from time to time. It's one of our key training items. In freestyle, there are many styles of kicking. There's a 6-beat kick, which is the sprinter's power kick. And there's a 2-beat kick, which tends to be people who might swim open water or very, very long distances. A 6-beat kick is when a swimmer takes 6 kicks per arm cycle. And an arm cycle is a right arm pull and a left arm pull. So the rhythm of the 6-beat kick would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Watch Michael do a 6-beat kick and see how rhythmic it is as he's doing it. One of the things that we noticed in 1998 when Michael was just a young guy was that there was an Australian swimmer named Ian Thorpe who won a world championship in the 400 meters doing a 6-beat kick the whole way. And we modeled Michael's stroke after that. We wanted him to be able to do a 6-beat power kick on all of the distances that he swims. And that's really the wave of the future in freestyle swimming. You can generate so much more speed, you have so many more options with your stroking patterns and upper body that every swimmer should be working to develop a 6-beat kick, and they should have that in their repertoire of skills. Having said that, I realize that distance swimmers, particularly maybe some female distance swimmers that you see with a 2-beat kick. And what this does is it sort of minimizes the energy cost of the legs, because the legs take the most energy from the body when you're exercising. And that allows you to have more endurance. I think what we've seen in women's swimming and in men's distance swimming is a combination of kicks. You have a 2-beat kick, maybe for the body of a race, and then swimmers are going to a 6-beat kick at the end where they really want to ramp up their speed. Katie has worked on this, and she's a very good example of someone who can swim very efficiently with a 2-beat kick, but then she can switch to a 6-beat kick when she does the 200 meters, 100 meters, or maybe in the last 100 of her 800 meters. A 2-beat kick would only have 2 beats of kicking per arm cycle, essentially 1 kick per arm stroke. And if you watch a distance swimmer, sometimes Katie will swim at the 2-beat kick. You'll see 1, 2, kick, 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 kick. It's very balanced, it's very efficient, but it doesn't have the power of the 6-beat. So when you're working on those two skills, you just need to understand what the benefits of each one are, and you need to learn how to do both. Kicking to me is something that should be one of the main components of your training program. It's something that should be done long. There should be endurance kicking. I know sometimes we do 2,000 time kick at North Baltimore Aquatic Club. Might not be one of their favorite things, but it's one of my favorite things. It's something that should be done fast and intensely. I don't believe in doing a lot of slow, sloppy kicking. As a matter of fact, I don't believe in doing any of it. We want our kicking to be either for skill, in which case it might be less intense, or for conditioning development, when it should be very, very intense. We believe in doing short, fast kicking. We believe in doing long, hard kicking, and everything in between. And the more different types of kicking you do, the better all-around swimmer you're going to be. If you watch Michael kicking freestyle, you're going to see that he has a very rapid, small kick. He doesn't have a big, booming kick during his stroke. He has a small, shallow kick that's up at the top of the water, and it makes the water boil over his feet. This is one of the things that he does better than anyone in the world, and it's a skill that he learned when he was 12 years old. It's not an easy thing to do. You can just ask Michael. We went through a very tough process to get him to do that, but once he did, his freestyle took off, his training moved to a new level, and he was able to become the swimmer that he is today based on some of those changes. There are as many variations on freestyle swimming as there are swimmers, and we've had tremendous swimmers like Michael Phelps who swim with the classic bent arm stroke. You've got Katie Hoff who swims with a more modified bent arm stroke, with a little bit straighter. And then we've had great swimmers like Cesar Cielo, the recent Olympic champion in 50 free, who essentially swims with the straight arm stroke. Each of these has a benefit. Traditionally, the longer you swim, the more bent arm you would use because it's a more relaxed position. There's less what we would call angular momentum. That means the momentum of the stroke probably doesn't carry you forward as quickly, but you're able to conserve energy and be totally relaxed coming forward, and that's a big advantage because people who swim with a bent arm stroke typically use a very strong kick and they have a very power-oriented stroke underwater. Watch Michael as he recovers. You can see how relaxed he is, and then you can see the power he generates under the body as his arm moves back. A more straight arm stroke allows you to have a higher tempo, and modern sprinters are going to this stroke more and more because it's allowed them to generate higher tempo, particularly for 50 meters, and even now for 100 meters people are experimenting with that. And you can still maintain a good body position if you have a strong kick. No one in 200 meters has really done that successfully because the distance is just too long. But the sprinters are really going to a more straight arm stroke. I think just like the kicking styles we talked about, all swimmers should be able to do each of those. And you can experiment. Try some short sprints and practice with straight arm and see how you like it. Michael does. He never does it in a meet, but it's a good tool for him to use in training. And then try a very bent arm, high elbow stroke, where your hands are virtually touching your head. This will just give you a variety, and it'll let you find out what you do naturally best. As anything we do in swimming, the wider variety of skills that you have in your repertoire, the more effective you're going to be. It's important that as the hand enters the water, regardless of the style of recovery you use, that it slides into the water and reaches forward upon entry. This does a couple things. Number one, it cleans the air off your hand and you have a clean entry into the water, so you're minimizing resistance. Watch Michael and Katie both as they enter the water. They don't have a lot of splash around their hands, and once their hands are in the water, the bubbles leave their hands almost immediately. This is very effective pulling, and a good tool that you can use in practice is to slide your hands in. Always feel like you're sliding them in, not chopping, not pulling back. You just want to have your hand in, sliding forward. The second thing that this does is it allows the body to get on its side, which is the most streamlined position, as the hand slides forward, and it allows a good anchor position in the front of the stroke. The most effective freestylers are going to have a great anchor in the front quadrant of the stroke. And that means that when their hand enters, their fingertips are going to be heading towards the bottom of the pool, and they're going to try to get their forearm perpendicular to the bottom. If you watch Katie swimming freestyle, she does a very good job of getting that high elbow in the front part of the stroke and then pressing back, because once you're in this position, you can use all of the muscles in your lats and your back as well as the muscles in your arms. If you're flat or your elbow is dropped when your hand goes in, you're just going to be slipping water and you're not going to use your major muscle groups. Let's watch Michael's stroke underwater. Notice how he slides his hand in with minimal bubbles on his hand. He immediately gets into a catch position where his fingertips are pointed towards the bottom, and he begins to pull backwards to get his elbow in position for the major power phase of the stroke. Once his forearm is perpendicular to the bottom, he pulls with his lat muscles and he rotates to the other side. This motion really provides the power of the stroke and is the greatest propulsion he's going to produce while he's swimming freestyle. Take a look at his kick while all this is happening. It's perfectly balanced and in rhythm with his arms. His body's moving as a unit, and you can just see how the rest of his body reacts to the motion of the pull. It's as if everything is just one unit. There aren't just arms pulling, feet kicking. Everything is together, and that's how you want to swim proper freestyle. Let's talk about freestyle flip turns. There are several key ingredients to a good flip turn. The first is your approach to the wall. You should not take a breath within probably 2 or 3 strokes of the wall when you're coming in freestyle, because what that does is it transfers your momentum away from the wall, and it also keeps you from concentrating on the turn itself. So plan your breathing so that you can get 2 or 3 strokes going into the wall without a breath. You need to come into the wall with the maximum amount of speed that you can get, and you need to try to make the rotation of the turn as quick as you can. And the best way to do that is to move straight into the wall at top speed and then submerge your head and shoulders as you're going in. Once you start the motion into the wall, you've got to squeeze into the tightest ball possible to get the quickest rotation speed of your feet over. Try to get your toes on the wall as fast as you can. That's what we tell our people at North Baltimore Aquatic Club. Get your toes on the wall quickly. I think that your feet should be slightly apart so that the water can travel through your knees as you go over. And you should hit the wall with your feet up. That means you're going to come in and go straight off on your back in the pull. You should come off the wall on your back and twist to your side as you push. This allows the most effective transfer of speed in and out of the wall. Think of it as a tennis ball. If you throw it into the wall, it's going to come straight back. That's the fastest way to get in and out of that wall and to change directions. So the fastest way for a swimmer is to come straight in, come off on your back, and then twist. Let's watch the angle that Michael comes off the wall. Notice he's pushing down towards the bottom of the pool as he initially leaves the wall. This allows him to actually kick under the wake and the turbulence that he created coming into the turn. And it's critical in sprint swimming. All freestylers need to be able to push off deep so that they are going to be under their wake that they created coming in the wall. Michael, of course, is a great dolphin kicker. And it's a great weapon to use if you've perfected it and you practice it every day. You'll notice he gets a lot of distance for each kick. He has a very high velocity underwater, and he has a very rigid body position as he does this. Those are the key elements of his push-off and what makes him so effective at underwater kicking. After your underwater kick on the turn, you have to have an effective breakout. And one of the key points of a good breakout is that the head stays in line with the body. You don't lift the chin and the head and try to lift up vertically to get on top of the water. You keep your head in line and move straight forward horizontally to break out. The great swimmers accelerate into the breakout, and they do this by breathing on the second stroke off the wall, not the first. You never breathe the first stroke off the wall. You're going to take one stroke underwater, and then you'll breathe on the second stroke. Like anything in your swimming, the key to good turns is practicing good turns. My swimmers often say, when are we going to work on turns? And I always say something like, well, we just did 200, how were yours? Any swimming practice is full of opportunities for you to get better, and you just have to focus on each one until the good habits become automatic. When you leave the wall, you already have to be in a tight streamline position. One of the keys that I tell my swimmers in doing flip turns is that your arms should be in the point position before your feet hit the wall. This ensures that you're going to be totally streamlined coming out underwater. Watch Katie on this turn and watch her excellent streamline position as she pushes off the wall. The next step can be what we call a rotation drill. And that would be where one arm is extended, the swimmer's on their side, and you're going to take 8 kicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then initiate a pull and rotate to the other side quickly and take 8 kicks on that side. Again, the hip and shoulders need to move in the same plane. They're one unit. Let's watch Michael do the next step in this drill, which is called 8 plus 3 plus 8, which means he's going to take 8 kicks on one side. He's going to take 3 arm strokes, 1, 2, 3, and then he's going to be on the other side where he'll take 8 kicks. Watch how he moves from side to side, how efficient he is, how small and tight his kicks are, and how his hip and shoulders move together. I hope you've enjoyed watching this DVD and will watch the other strokes that we have coming out soon. Michael and Katie are now in preparation for the 2012 Olympic Games, and we're back at work every day doing the same kind of fundamental work that we did on this video. Just remember, if you work hard and set high goals, you can achieve anything you want to achieve.